All right. I had recorded this video before, but I had left some holes in this. And I want to make sure I try to straddle the line as best I can when talking about this situation because I think it's very valuable. And we have to be very careful in what we say. We can't all be edgy and just say, God Emperor Putin is going to, liberate, the gay homosexual Ukraine. We have to be smarter than that because the narrative is going against us. Um, is going against Russia, definitely. Protests in Russia have broken out. While you can say that Russia, as a lot of folks are predicting, will win, it will be a Pyrrhic victory at best. Sacrifices from the Ukrainian military, whether it's Snake Island, where they say go fuck yourselves, to a Russian destroyer, I believe, or a cruiser, or a sapper who sacrificed his life when blowing up a bridge to keep the Russians out, um, or this mysterious ghost of Kiev stuff, or these snipers. It creates an image of strength. And of course, there's also the matter of untrained civilians being given guns, very Volksturm esque with this whole let's give out AK 47s to folks. And of course, the reality is that the Ukrainians are shooting each other. And there are folks who are just so paranoid, it's like, oh, they're Russian agents, and they come in and shoot them. So, like I say, I'm trying to be as straddling the line as possible, trying not to fall to one side or the other of the fence. There's a lot of folks who are like, yeah, this is gonna upend the system, bro. This is gonna, embarrass the United States. How? How is it gonna embarrass the United States? Like I say, I know that suddenly, maybe I've said a lot of edgy shit. I will say that once again. But I think that when you see the reality of it and you see the sacrifices that have been made by the Ukrainians, a lot of folks are going to buy into that narrative. Much the same ways like remember the Alamo or whichever, right? And I think that it's a very, very dangerous thing to say. Now, of course, people can say, that America led Ukraine to do this because they were going to join NATO or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Layers this this war has, very many layers. They're the ordinary people who are just living to be living. You have, the Azov battalion types who are just glowies who, and there are caricatures, unfortunately, real life caricatures who are a large reason why this war is happening. And you have soldiers who are just going to defend their country not because of Zelensky. They're not doing it to defend Zelensky. They're not doing it to defend his government. They're doing it to defend their families and their homes. Because they've heard about the Holodomor or whichever you want to say. So, I mean, this is a very dumb narrative when you hear from Putin say something like, the government is full of neo-Nazis and drug addicts, you think the average Ukrainian soldier cares about that? Did the average German soldier care about National Socialism? The reason I'm saying this is because the war is going to continue. And I don't want to seem like somebody who's just like, a hypocrite, but I am. I realize that. I've said a lot of edgy shit and whatnot because I've fed into this whole sort of right-wing hate, anger sphere, this hate cycle. I'll admit it. I'll say it here. But when you see it live and you make videos about it, you can't just, say that edgy shit when you know that real people are dying. I'm not going to choose a side because I think that's inappropriate. And I think that right now it doesn't matter. There's a lot of folks who seem to think, well, we have to support Russia because they're going to take down the system. How is that? Russians aren't going to go into NATO countries. They're not going to try to go into Poland. They're not going to try to go into the Baltics. At least I don't think they would. I'm not going to say they wouldn't, but what I will say is that sounds pretty dumb. There's a lot of stuff being thrown out. I've said this already. There's a lot of disinfo out there. And it's a fucking mess. That's all I can really tell you. We just have to be careful about narratives. We have to be very careful about it. And oh man, it's just this is one of those moments where you're just kind of like, do I want to go to jail because I decided to say something so I can get, get some dopamine? And I would say it's not worth it. I'm going to give you a hot take. It's not worth it. And to me, when you get older, you don't have the same spirit you used to when you're younger. You also realize is that isms come and go. Those isms may change some things for the better or for the worst, but things kind of remain the same. And isms have tried to make people into what they wanted to. But it's never completely worked that way. And so, to a point, I've claimed plenty of isms, including, to a point, National Bolshevism. But at this point, I was almost going to say I'm a humanist, but no, don't worry. At this point, it doesn't really matter. And you're gonna join who you need to join. The Russians wouldn't care if I made some funny meme about them or not. Ukrainians probably don't care about what I say either. It's one of those things all we can do is just watch. And what's going to happen afterwards? That's always the reality of it. Everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen afterwards. We're seeing what's going on with the war. We see that more than likely Kiev will fall. And pockets of resistance will continue. But is there going to be a puppet state? How long is the Russian military going to stay? What sort of restrictions are going to occur, etc., etc. You know? So that's what we're all kind of waiting for. Just kind of watching this and just kind of, either giving into the nihilism of it and just saying, yeah, go Russians go, or listening to the cope from Redditors who are just like, yeah, we care about humanity, but, we want to see Russian heads on a pike in Odessa, that sort of thing. I'm quoting kind of from a tweet that I saw, but it's very unnerving. And I think in situations like this, the true self comes out. And we can all LARP and talk shit, but it's another thing when you see video of what's going on and the bombings that have occurred. I would argue, apart from the war in Syria, this is one of the biggest wars that we've seen through, the internet, I would argue. Yemen really isn't shown the same way. Syria was shown for a while, but a lot of that has kind of died down. I think, the war continues on. ISIS pockets are still popping up all across Syria proper. It's not the same thing, though. Right now, dare I use this term, but I'll say it nonetheless, the eyes of Sauron are on Ukraine. And, and everyone seems united, of course, in lip service, in support of Ukraine. But this is the same type of thing with Hungary in 1956, or even Czechoslovakia in 1968. NATO is not going to step in. The United States is not going to step in. That would be wise, of course, but it's all lip service and virtue signaling. And like I say, I'm trying, even though I'm vulnerable myself right now to very, to strong emotions, but I realize to a point I can't be sucked in. I'm tired of that. I'm so tired of being sucked into these narratives that, they tell me that I should be. And I know ultimately I'm going to be played I'm going to be played as a pawn or a fool. I'm tired of that. So that's why I take up this neutral position and realize that, I don't think this is going to be what anybody thinks it is, And a lot of folks are just going to be disappointed, or they're going to spin it their own way. And there are plenty of folks who make their living from, defending Russia or, supporting Ukraine. And they're going to spin it whatever way they need to so that they can continue to get their money. And that's the cold, hard reality of this. Yeah. I think that's all I really have to say. This is a lot longer than the original version I had, but I think that this explains more of what I wanted to say. I think that's really, I really think that's it. But yeah, a lot of emotions, a lot of just sort of holy shit sort of feeling. And I think a lot of folks are feeling that way. And yeah, we'll just go along this emotional roller coaster and see where it ends. With that, I say to you, I bid you adieu.